Hello and welcome to Tales from the Twists, a podcast where we like to talk about Round the Twist, an 80s, 90s and early 2000s children's television show from Australia. And to talk about that show, I have become the person known as Joe Lewis and am joined by the person known as Anthony Bull. How are you, Anthony?
I'm quite well, Joe. I'm very well. How are you? I've just been told that you have become Joseph Lewis.
I have become Joseph Lewis.
So who were you before? What were you before?
Joseph Lewis.
Okay, so how do you...
I was the person to be soon known as Joseph Lewis.
That's a good question, and here's one to start it off.
What?
To get your mental juices flowing. Are you the same person you were 5 minutes ago?
Are you just quoting Fight Club now?
No.
Is that your new thing?
No, I'm not quoting Facebook. It's a legitimate question. Are you the same person you were 5 minutes ago? Are you the same person you were a second ago?
No, because your cells change at a microbiological level.
So do you even exist?
Yes.
At what point in time do you exist and cease to exist?
You continue existing, but in a different form.
Okay.
It's like that thing from John Dies at the End.
I haven't seen it. What happens at the end? Does John die at the end?
No.
Well, that's a misleading title.
Does he?
Oh, that's a misleading name.
There's a guy... Well, he does die at the end of some point in time, I guess.
Yeah.
But you have an axe.
Yeah.
And there's a zombie that comes or something, and you attack it, but you need to replace the head of the axe.
Yeah.
And then something happens to the handle, and you need to replace the handle as well.
What's his
and
face?
Somebody comes to kill you. Is it the same axe?
That's what's his face's ship, right?
What ship?
The Greek one. I forget his name.
Odysseus?
Odysseus' ship. Right?
Yeah.
You know, that's what Plato sort of talked about that.
Ah.
You know, Odysseus' ship gets everything repaired over time. New mast, new floorboards, all that jazz.
Yeah.
In 100 years' time, nothing new remains of Odysseus' ship. Is it still Odysseus' ship?
Yes.
But everything's replaced. It's all new. It's like saying, is Guns N' Roses still Guns N' Roses, even though Slash is left and the only person who's remaining?
That's a
Axl?
different question, though.
It's the same question.
We're here to talk about Round the Twist, the TV show I mentioned before.
Yes.
Not to talk about Guns N' Roses and the replacement of Slash, which I could probably talk about all day, and I guess you could as well. But
Yes.
We're here especially to talk about Season 3, Episode 1. Mm-hmm. We're starting our coverage of Season 3. And the episode, Big Burp.
Yes, Big Burp.
Had you seen this episode before?
Maybe. Like, I don't remember a lot of it, but I feel like I have. Like, you know when you kind of feel like you've seen it, but it's like, can't recall much about it. So I'm going to put it as a maybe.
I'd definitely seen Season 1 many times, right?
Yeah.
I'd seen less of Season 2. I'm probably the least familiar with Season 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Even though I have seen probably all of them before on multiple occasions, my memory's a little foggier because I was old enough to not really care about Round the Twist anymore. And I kind of think that the first season was the best.
Yeah.
And so my care level had gone down. But we still love Round the Twist because you can replace the many parts. Is it still Round the Twist?
Yeah, that actually links up. That actually works. Wow.
Yeah, see? Look at me.
Wow.
Podcasting in action.
I was just like, just blurting random stuff out, and then you're like, you're tying things together. Wow.
That's how we roll here on Tales from the Twist.
Twist is Odysseus' ship.
It is indeed.
All right.
To talk about the new cast and the new season, we're going to do it in a variety of ways. We'll go through as we normally do, but we've got a lot of feedback from listeners this episode. Yeah. As we've talked about before, we've got a special Facebook page called Chicken Twisties.
Yes.
So if you're a fan of our podcast, you can contact us or find it yourself and join the page. And there you can submit your feedback. Now, the guy who started this was called Pontillo, so we call it Pontillo's Pontifications. But now we have a bunch of contributors who all contribute different things. So this week we're going to look at feedback from Pontillo, Regan Pontillo, a good friend who always has good feedback. A new contributor called Stephen Wadpole, who has an interesting theory that Linda will eventually become
BDSM dominatrix.
Yes, which is very interesting, but fair enough. We're all entitled to our own
to later episodes.
Interpretations.
We can't really pontificate too much on that because
we'll see
what later episodes hopefully we can.
We'll see as we go along. We'll see how right his theory is. And we've got a little bit from Hayden Reading, a big fan of the show who's written to us on multiple occasions.
Yep.
And he listens to the show with his partner and is introducing Round the Twist to his young child.
And that is what everyone should be doing.
Passing on the legacy of this great Australian program to future generations.
Particularly in today's generation where everyone's like wrapped up in cotton wool and, Nerf.
Yeah.
Where you can't do anything that's weird or, unsafe. This is probably the most dangerous thing you could give your child. And that's a good thing, I reckon. Let your child be like, hey, this is weird and you should love it. And the kid will be like, man, this is weird and I love it.
So let's just start talking about the episode, and when we come to a pontification, we'll make that an aside.
Joe will make a noise.
He
won't.
You're setting me up now. You stitched me up.
I don't want to do that.
Now I have
like
to make
every time we do something, you'll make a weird noise, and I'll say, "Well, that's the noise from now on."
The people, they love the noise.
So I guess
they love it.
They write us in saying, "Oh,
they've written
I
me many
listened to the
emails."
show, and I was about to give up, and then all of a sudden, bam! Out of nowhere, here comes Joe's noises.
That is exactly what happened. Please do not mock me.
I will not.
So we start the episode, as we do always, with a teaser of what's going to happen in the episode as we go through. And so this episode, we have a shot of the lighthouse, and we kind of pan down to a new cast of just the Twist children, none of the others. So we've got a new Linda, new Pete, and a new Bronson. Linda and Pete being twins, and Bronson being their younger brother. And Bronson and Linda both go, hello, hello, and then Pete,
he's going to go, hello,
you think he's going to go hello, but what does he do instead?
He goes, brrr.
And the title of the episode comes up, The Big Burp.
Burp. I wrote down, gross, I don't like it. And from my notes, actually, I wrote, I don't like it a lot.
You don't?
See?
Yes, you did write that.
I don't like it a lot.
I can see that. You've written, I don't like it many times over the page.
I don't like it, right?
Who are you, Pauline Hanson?
I don't like it when you turn my voice about.
I've heard that.
You've heard the song? Good.
Yeah, no,
Awesome.
I have heard her speech as well.
Oh, yeah?
Very enlightening. Now would be probably a good point to go through Stephen Wadpole's feedback, and we'll come to our own opinions of these new characters as we get to them. But we'll just start off and we'll read off some of his interesting feedback about how he feels about all of the new cast.
I really enjoyed it, reading it.
So Bronson, Pete, and Linda are all new. There's a new Tony. There's a new Faye. I think the Gribble's the same.
Yeah, Harold's the same. I don't know about the matron.
The matron's definitely different.
Yep.
Snapper's the same, and there's a new Nell because the old Nell died.
That's a shame.
But keep that in mind as we read out this excellent piece of writing from our good friend Stephen Wadpole. Okay, it starts off with Bronson, in brackets, more little shitty than ever, close brackets. Linda and Pete doing some stupid noises. The Big Burb is the title. There is a new Nell. She is not like the old Nell, possibly a lesbian. New Tony Twist. He has not a touch of Richard Moore. He looks more like a submissive wimp. New Faye is ugly as a hat pin full of assholes. The bullies are not even that great, unlike the first season. So, very colourful, but I think that you get the point there. He goes on. Mr. Gribble and new matron. I really hate Mark Mitchell. Frankie J. Holden will always be more real Gribble than all of them. Represent. Frankie J. Holden. If you're out there listening, we love you. Contact us.
Is he alive?
I think so.
Good.
He does a lot of things.
Yeah.
Interesting. Politically, Mr. Gribble was Shire president of Port Noranda in the first season. In the second, he was running for Senate, but it's possible he was still a councillor. There was a female mayor in the Yuckles episode. In the third season, he is now mayor, and he writes that there were council amalgamation in Victoria 1994 under Jeff Kennett. So
must have had some effect.
Interesting.
Thank
you for that, Wadpole.
That's kind of cool.
A little bit more.
When we thinking, sorry about this to break in, sorry. When we talking about how like he should run for councillor?
We were indeed.
Yeah, and we were talking about that in an earlier episode how we should run for councillor.
Yeah, but apparently he was one. Something that we must have missed.
Yeah, well, I guess. Or it's being made up.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Wadpole, do you think that listeners would write in and tell us lies, Anthony? Do you think that they would tell us lies on the internet?
No.
He goes on. New Fiona is plain and boring. Enough said. You're entitled to your own opinion. I really hate little shit. He's put in brackets. Bronson.
So we know, but it's pretty clear.
We also share your opinion here. Bronson is not my favourite character either. And then he says, okay, Season 3 Linda's a lot better than Season 2 Linda. In fact, there are several hints of Linda becoming interested in BDSM. Look at her attitude and the way she's holding a ladle.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Ladle holding techniques.
When you see a woman holding a ladle, it says something about her sexual preferences.
Yeah.
Yep. If she's holding it like she's trying to serve something, then she's clearly into normal stuff. If she's holding it like it's a club, then clearly she's into BDSM.
I didn't even notice that she was holding a ladle at any point in the episode.
She was.
When?
When she's like, Pete's like, oh, I'm pregnant or something. And he comes down the stairs and Linda's
she's holding
a ladle for some reason. To smack him, I guess. For being a bad boy.
Very, very interesting considering he's her brother.
Yes, well, It's...
Wadpole goes on. Well, I thought this season was all over before it had begun. But guess who was there? Load him up and eat that snapper. Espen Storm himself. Put on a bit of weight, although it is aging and it's 2000.
That's my favourite of his contribution.
That is fantastic.
It's just like, I was about to write this whole season up and then smack me down. It's Espen Storm.
Espen Storm, one of the greater members of the show
Round the
itself.
Twist. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is one of the greatest members of Round the Twist, I believe.
Webpol has a couple more lines, but I think we'll come back to them towards the end of the episode. But yeah. That's a bit of a look from one of our listeners about how they feel about the new cast. I kind of disagree with him a couple of points, but we'll get to them as we go through.
Yeah, of course.
So the actual episode itself starts. We've got Nell, the new Nell, who's putting on this bit of an accent. She's not kind of a younger version of Nell. I think our previous Nell was a bit older. This Nell's a bit younger and heftier. If I can use that.
Fatter? Does that mean what you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you allowed to say that? Is that fattest? Fat-phobic?
Well, I mean, like, if you're going to call her heftier, I mean, you might as well just call her fatter. Yeah, maybe it's fattest. I don't know. You're calling her fat, right? That's what you're trying to say. Just call a stick a stick.
It's politically correct.
It's politically correct to describe something poorly. Apparently. I know someone will get offended, but it's like, it is what it is, right?
I guess.
That's what you mean. I mean, show her enough respect to insult it properly.
They're preparing a party. They mentioned that Faye's moving in. So Faye's going to be moving into the lighthouse, presumably after they get married or before they get married or whenever, because we found out that they were finally going to get married at the end of season 2. Mm-hmm. After the whole debacle of, we're not getting married, yes, we are.
So do you think this season they're going to break up again and they're going to get remarried at the end?
No, I don't think so.
I really hope not.
Because that's been played out.
Yeah.
Bronson's not overly happy about the situation because there's going to be a lot of people in the Linehouse. They'll have to share television choices of the programs that they want to watch. Mm-hmm. And Linda says, don't worry because married men live longer.
Yep.
Apparently. Statistically. Apparently it's a statistical fact that married men live longer.
That makes sense.
Is this true?
That makes sense. They're not lonely. Also, being alone tends to make you live a lot earlier because you don't recognize there's a problem.
What are you talking about?
You have a mysterious issue happening in your life, right? I don't know. You're feeling sad. Like, one, there's the mental illness, like depression or something.
Yeah.
There. All right. But there's also stuff like, let's just take skin cancer, for example. You wouldn't know that a new mole has sprouted often, but your partner might be like, is that a new mole? Okay, well, should I go get that checked? And then your wife will be like, I don't know, nag you until you go and see a mole specialist. And then all of a sudden it turns out that it is cancer. And you say to the doctor, please don't cut it out because it would just prove my wife correct. And as a married man, I can't allow my wife to be right.
Thanks for that.
Just saying, that's what
interjection.
Married men will be like. It's like, I'm in a rock and a hard place. Either my wife is right or I die of cancer.
Insights into the married life from Anthony Bull. Nell adds on to the conversation by saying that if you drop a tadpole in her beer, then everyone will be happier. She thinks that Tony should get Faye impregnated because everyone will become happier with the child involved. Apparently, according to Nell. Thank you, Nell.
I feel like that's just the
wisdom.
Birds and the bees thing. Is it really like a tadpole in the beer is like an Australian version of that? Is that like the story?
Drop a tadpole in a beer.
No, she didn't say drop a tadpole in the beer, right?
Yeah.
Did she?
Yeah.
I thought it was just like someone put a tadpole in her beer and like that's the story.
No.
No, so it was like she was literally just saying you should put a tadpole in her beer.
Yes, that's what she was saying.
Why is it beer?
Because I think that's slang for vagina.
I'd love to go, and I'm going to go and buy a 6-pack of vaginas then from the store later. I'll see how the clerk looks at me. I hope it's a woman too, because it'd make it even worse.
Anyway, she is saying that Tony should impregnate Faye, and the whole family will be happier because exactly the way to solve Bronson's problems with more people being in the lighthouse is add even more people.
Yeah.
Good thinking, Nell. You haven't said anything good since season 1.
That's true.
You told us about your dead family.
Yep, it's true. Senility, what can you do?
What can you do? The new Tony, he's very upset. He comes out, he's stressed. Where's Pete? He's probably off gas-bagging with his mates. Well, he's not going to be here for the moving-in party for my new wife. And we cut to Gribble and his mates, who are chasing Pete, who apparently needs to pee very badly. I'm not sure how this scenario arose.
Yeah.
But for some reason, Pete's needed to pee badly, and he's upset Gribble and his mates, and they decided they want to bash him up. So we get this chase scene as they run through the forest and different locations as Pete is looking for somewhere to pee.
Yeah, I don't
How did this scenario arise?
I don't know. Like, he drank all of Gribble's magic juice.
Magic pea juice.
Magic regular juice. I don't know. Special juice, lemonade that he didn't pay for. I don't. Why are they chasing him?
I have no idea.
There's no real clear reason. They're
Does
just
it matter?
their friends.
In almost every episode of Round the Twist since the beginning of season 2, at some point we've had the Gribbles chase Pete.
Yeah.
It's just one of the requirements of the episodes, apparently.
Yeah. Maybe it's like the old antelope and the lion thing.
What?
You know, the lion chases an antelope. Who wins in that race?
I don't know what you're getting at.
The antelope wins because the lion's running for dinner, but the antelope's running for its life. Something like that. I don't know.
So is that some Aesop wisdom there?
Yeah, it's a bit of Aesop's fable materialized and personified in the Gribbles and Pete.
We'll just cut away for a second to some Pontillo pontifications.
Of course.
Yeah, from our good friend Pontillo. And he's written in and he said, at 2:22, we see locked public toilets, which Pete runs past and tries to get into. Now, he reckons that this is a homage to the season 2, episode 11, A Quivering Heap, which is the one where the punk ghost is in the bathroom and tries to scare Pete.
Yeah.
That Pete is also locked in. And he says, also, it's weird how it appears at 2:22, as Quivering Heap was from season 2, and there are 3 2s. What? Commencing the 3rd series of Around the Twist.
Oh, confirmed. Confirmed, right?
Yeah. Get your head around that, listeners.
Wow, that's just blew my mind. And when I listened more, it had me weeping.
What are you talking about?
Just trying to make more stuff.
He also says that humour is graffitied on the outside of the public toilets. The
Spelled
word
properly
humour.
too.
Yes, and possibly to illustrate to the new viewers that Round the Twist is a new show not to be taken seriously. I would say maybe it's to say to the viewers,
this is funny.
This is funny. You should laugh. You should laugh here.
Yep, you should laugh at this. But I like that anyway. It's like I like the way he interprets it as more like a tip of the cap. It's like a milady to the audience. We sort of didn't see it as that. We saw it as very in your face. I like the subtle interpretation better, actually.
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe it's because we're jaded, I think.
Why
we're jaded and we just don't think that there is any subtlety left around the twist.
Well, not since Paul Jennings left.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. Paul, as a side note, so Paul Jennings wrote all of season 1 by himself, assumably. He's credited as solo writer in all those episodes.
Yep.
Season 2, it's collaborative between him and Snapper.
Yep.
Espen Storm, who plays Snapper.
Yep.
Who we talked about briefly before. Season 3 is Snapper and I think a bunch of other people. And then season 4, no more Snapper because he died.
Wow, that sucks.
I think he died. Well, he disappeared anyway. He did die at some point.
Yeah.
But whether he died between season 3 and 4, I'm not completely clear on.
Oh, that kind of sucks for Snapper. Best character.
Well, yeah.
One of the better characters.
Depends what kind of afterlife you're going to, really, though.
Yeah.
Could be better.
I don't know. You never know.
You never know.
Maybe he's a reincarnated person.
Pete needs to pee really badly, so he pees on this giant tree as he tries to get away from the Gribbles. The tree, we hear some suggestive audio coming from the tree. She's very happy
They're both
about
very
this.
happy.
And the tree says, I've finally found someone. The Gribbles catch up, and Pete is very upset because the Gribbles are apparently going to kill him, and he's going to die with his pants down. Is this a reference to Without My Pants?
Yes. I'm going to say it is. It's kind of like that.
I kind of muffled it.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's going to die with my pants down. It's a bit like Without My Pants or Wonder Pants even.
Maybe. Could be.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Possibly, maybe.
The tree agrees to help Pete in exchange for a favour. So Pete immediately agrees because he's about to be beaten up.
You never agree to something, to an unspecified favour.
Yeah, especially when you're under duress.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Like, now you owe me something. What do I owe you? You have to bring me a small child.
You see,
eat.
When we're watching the episode, we both thought, wouldn't it be better if he would just continue peeing and turn around and pee on them? Who wants to beat up a man who's peeing everywhere?
Yeah, he's like running at him. All you do is like he's peeing a lot. It's not like a little trickle. It's like just coming out like a fire hose. He just needs to turn around and pee on him, or if he wants to, he can create an area of effect damage by spinning around like a spiral and creating like a sprinkler effect.
Okay.
No one will touch that. I wouldn't touch that.
Very Diablo.
You get one couple of drops of pee on you, and it's like, you know what? No. And it'd gross you out, right?
It would.
And you just wouldn't go
just
any further,
the thought
right?
of somebody peeing
on you with
their penis out is probably not an ideal beat them up situation.
Yeah, I'm not going to beat him up, because if I beat him up, then he's just going to pee in the air and it's just going to splash down on top of me.
Yeah.
We're all going to get pissed on, so I don't think so.
The Gribbles approach Pete as he's peeing.
Yeah.
And the first thing that they say is, it must be a lava tree.
The delivery wasn't very good.
Whose delivery?
Was it Tiger?
My delivery?
No,
Or Tiger's delivery? Both, probably.
We didn't get that it was a lavatory joke.
Yes, lavatory
until the second
toilet
joke came out. Yeah, because he comes out and he says that's a lather. It's either like a lather, as in like lathering a soap, or it's lava tree. So it wasn't delivered as in that's a lava tree.
No,
it must be a lavatory. Said quickly, it was a lather tree, and so I think the delivery was crap.
Yeah.
Whereas opposed to the other one, which is, twist, you're gonna need a cemetery.
Yes.
Right? That was better because then we went,
yeah, they say the last tree that you're going to see is going to be a cemetery.
Which is probably true for most people.
Why do they want to kill Pete?
Why?
What has he done to offend them?
They're hungry for lunch.
It's
in their nature.
He doesn't have anything. He's just here being
Why does the gribble attack Pete, But we'll both die. I know, it's in my nature, because I'm a scorpion, and you are a turtle, alligator, fish, dolphin, whatever. The scorpion hitches a ride on someone.
It's a frog. Scorpion and the frog.
Yeah, Scorpion and the frog. Well,
yeah. Is it Aesop? Is that fable Aesop?
I don't know if it's Aesop's fable. All I know is that the gribbles are scorpions, and Pete is a fish. Or a frog, or whatever.
For our confused listeners,
yes.
Anthony is trying to refer to a story. A frog swims about in a pond.
Yeah.
And Scorpion wants to cross. And the Scorpion says, hey, listen, frog, I'm going to cross this river. Will you let me across? And he says, you're probably going to sting me.
Yeah.
Which is
fair enough.
Which is fair, because it's a Scorpion. The Scorpion's like, oh, no, don't worry, man. It's cool, we're cool.
Why would I do that? Why would I do that? I need to
help
cross
me
over.
across. Yeah, you need to, it's fine.
Yeah.
Help me. So the frog's like, yeah, all right, jump on back. And he tries to take the Scorpion across. And then halfway through the river, Scorpion stings the frog. And the frog's like,
why'd you do that?
WTF, bro?
I'm going to die, and then you're going to die.
And he says, well, it's in my nature.
Yeah.
The Scorpion stings the frog.
Moral of the story is don't help people.
Moral of the story is don't trust scorpions.
That's true. And also don't help scorpions. Just kill scorpions. Preemptively murder scorpions.
If you see a scorpion,
and you kill it before it will squash you because it's in its nature to kill you.
The tree appears in spirit form as, human spirit form, Dryad form, as Natalie Portman.
Yeah, I saw it as sort of like an Australian Natalie Portman. So I was like, that's all right then.
Named Genie Dryad. A little bit confused about your spiritual entities there, Espen Storm.
That's
Genie
true.
is clearly different to a Dryad. Genie is
you explain the difference.
An Arabic wish-granting spirit. Dryad is spirit of the trees. Did you not read the Monster Manual 3.5?
So one's a spirit of the tree, one's Arab. What if it's an Arabian tree?
No, because Dryad doesn't grant wishes.
But Genie doesn't grant wishes?
Dryad is a tree spirit.
Yeah.
Genie lives in a lamp or other object.
Isn't that a genie just derived from the Muslim jinn?
Yeah, it's from jinn, yeah.
Right? So, maybe
they roam about the desert.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe this genie doesn't grant wishes, and then if someone want to go, why don't you grant wishes? They might say, look, the myth of us granting wishes is completely unfounded.
Why confuse the spiritual entities? Just call it a Dryad.
Well, what's her first name going to be? Linda? Jess?
Yeah,
Yeah?
Why not?
Jess Dryad?
Jess the Dryad.
Yep.
What was the lady's name that everyone killed each other for in season 2?
Whatever her name is, I'll forget her name. Bulldog.
Bulldog McGee.
Yeah, Bulldog McGee.
We recorded that episode 3 weeks ago and we can't remember.
Who knows? It's something.
Who remembers?
Not this guy.
Not either of us, that's for sure. So the Dryad is apparently concerned about the tree spirits.
Yeah, for some reason. Because she is her, I guess?
Yeah, she's concerned about the other tree spirits and she's flirting with Pete. Well, while the Gribbles are coming to attack him. And she says, will you be my boyfriend? Slow down here, Dryad.
Yeah, we just
met. What's going on here?
Yep.
Slow down here, Dryad. What do you think you're doing? Hands off.
Yeah.
Go on a date first.
Yeah.
Buy him dinner. And Pete immediately says yes. Why would you say that?
He's 13.
She could have all kinds of sadistic intentions.
He's 13.
He's 13. We do find out later that he is 13. Impulse.
Yep. Any date, opportunity, it's like, oh yeah, sure. And this is Natalie Portman. Natalie Portman's good looking. So, Natalie Portman, when you're 14, right, 13 and 14, it's like, hi. And this is 14, 15-year-old Natalie Portman.
Weird looking.
This is Attack of the Clones, Natalie Portman. kind of looks like
if she was crossed with a tree.
She crossed with a tree, whatever. Who
and
cares,
an Australian
right?
bogan.
Yeah, fine, whatever. Look, it's a Natalie Portman crossed with anything is fine when you're 14. So
Troll. Is Natalie Portman crossed with a troll? Okay.
Does she look like a troll?
Well, she looks like a cross between a Natalie Portman and a troll, doesn't she?
Natalie Portman or not?
She's a cross between Natalie Portman and a troll.
Well, if she looks enough like Natalie Portman, I probably would.
What percentage of Natalie Portman do you need your creature to look like?
You know, like 70?
70%.
For it to be an instantaneous yes.
65.
And this is not the case of
65. If somebody looked about 65% Natalie Portman, would
depends
you
where the Natalie Portman parts are. Like, if she's got, like, troll feet, I mean, that's fine. Just wear shoes.
What about a blend? Like a blend.
I don't know.
So everything's a bit blended. 65%. Would you go for it?
I have to see it first, maybe. Yeah, maybe I'd think about it. Maybe I'd have to find out if she's a nice person or not. Well, I mean, like, this is just first date. Boom. Will you go out with this person on a first date? You know, based on the looks alone.
This is the thing with dating, right? People get so hung up on dating. But what is a date, really? You're spending 2, 3, maybe 4 hours if it's going well with this one person. You never know. It could work out that you like them.
When you're older,
it's not a massive deal.
You realize that, dating's fine. It's like, whatever.
You're meeting new people. You're going to probably have story out of it to tell.
Will anything come of it? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But then it's like when you're 13, a date is like the start. It's not... the start of your relationship is the date. Yeah. You are boyfriend and girlfriend in your mind, and you love each other right from there. Like,
yes.
You'd even probably say, oh, I love her, or something. And it's like, you've only been on one date. You don't even know if you love her, okay?
But when you're older, you come to realize that dating is...
a complicated thing.
A bit more casual, I would say.
I'd say so.
Yeah, at least I think so anyway. Other people might have
until you get married. And then you have to worry about that shit. So, that's good.
Thanks again for bragging that you're married.
I'm not bragging. I'm just saying that it's
I'm married, so I don't have to worry about that.
I've acquired my resources. Sometimes I refer to my marriage like that, as an acquisition of resource.
Why not?
Why not? It's like, it's achieved, done, good. Well done.
Thanks.
Don't have to put up that bullshit of dating. Who wants to do that?
Thanks for your input. So she reaches in, the Dryad I'm talking about, not your wife. She reaches in and kisses Pete.
Yep.
And Pete is very happy with this. Back at the lighthouse, Tony's about to show some new art, and Pete's missing. Gribble rocks up, and he's trying to buy the lighthouse again. So he's back to his old tricks.
Yep.
He's back to his old season 1 tricks, trying to buy the lighthouse. He didn't really try to buy it in season 2, did he? He was more concerned about becoming senator.
Yeah, you sort of... I guess this is just to reintroduce people as everything, because I hated this in this episode. They did it in season 2 as well. Every character needs to be reintroduced to a new audience.
Well, to be fair, right? It's been a few years.
Yeah, this one's fine.
Round the Twist was on the air. So this was in about 2003, 2004. The previous season of Round the Twist was about 94. So it's been about 10 years. So the audience that this is going out to is a very different audience to the people that were watching season 1 of Round the Twist in 1989, the year that both you and I were born. I'd seen it many times on VHS and repeats on ABC.
Yeah.
But these kids, the target audience for this season, probably about 7 at this point, 8, 9, 10, maybe 13. They're not going to be super familiar with the older seasons around the Twist, so they need to be introduced to these new characters.
Yes.
Is that fair?
I think it's fair. Yeah. When you say it like that.
Bronson has a frog in his pocket.
Yep.
And Tony reveals his art, even though Pete's not there. It's called Love Never Sleeps. I don't quite know how to describe this. It's kind of a big pile of rusty iron twisted into a kind of circle. That, I didn't really understand what it was.
Tony's art tends to get worse when his relationship with Faye gets worse.
Interesting. Like, the ice sculptures pretty good. His best art was his ice sculptures by far, and that was when he was at his emotionally lowest. Whereas this one, he's been emotionally filled, so maybe art is his catharsis, if you will. And with Faye there, he doesn't have that emotional energy and that trapped inside him that he needs to release, because he's able to release it onto his new fiance. So the art that he produces doesn't have that emotion that it should have. That's actually a proven thing, right?
Yeah.
Where if people are in distress, their art is generally better.
Yeah.
If they're feeling stronger emotions.
They're taking that emotion into their art, and you can see it in just how they paint or how they sculpt. Whereas, art without emotions is pointless, often people will say. It looks good, but there's nothing there. There's no soul in that piece of art.
Decent opinion.
Yeah.
Gribble thinks that he should paint the artwork because it's rusty
some rust
iron.
Protection,
yeah, put some rust protection on that thing.
Doesn't understand.
He doesn't understand art.
This is what Tony would just be like, pleb. Pleb. Doesn't understand. What a noob.
Linda, out of nowhere, just walks towards the ocean and is followed by Fiona, the new Fiona, who is apparently here. And Linda says, I've been dreaming about a boy who comes across the sea with a book of love. Yeah. Thanks, Linda. But this does add a little bit to what we were talking about at the end of season 2.
Yeah.
Where Linda could spiritually communicate with these other beings without being directly involved in the actual
episode
ghost possessing shenanigans of that episode.
Have you noticed how it's mostly Pete here as well who interacts with spirits?
Yeah,
you know,
that is true. Yeah,
they do sort of interact with other people, but it's definitely Pete seeing the light, quivering heap.
Yep.
And what was the other one? This episode, and those are just the most recent ones.
Yeah.
Everyone else can still kind of do it, but for some reason they like to talk to Pete.
Yep.
And I don't know why.
Pete Twist, medium.
Yep. What does Bronson do? Oh, that's right. He doesn't do anything.
Oh, very funny. The new Fiona thinks that Linda is very lame. Now, it's interesting to note here that all the Fionas are a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the first Fiona was kind of a mirror of Linda.
Yeah.
They were very similar. They were feminists, they were activists, they were interested in stopping pigging out.
Yep.
These terrible activism schemes that they had cooking up. The second, season 2 Fiona was terrible. She was basically a non-entity, right?
Yeah. She was Aboriginal.
She was an indigenous character, and as you were saying, she was extremely underutilized.
I thought. Okay, so one of the things was, I think might have said this before. I don't know if I have brought it up. Was that we're dealing with Australian spirits, we're dealing with Australian outback magic, anything like that. And at no point did anybody ever think to invent a character which was essentially Fiona's grandfather, a tribal Aboriginal elder who you could go to and talk about the water spirit. What's the water spirit? Well, I don't know. Maybe you want to teach some kids about Aboriginal culture. Maybe there is an Aboriginal water spirit or something like it. And you could teach them about that Aboriginal water spirit. And that's what was the thing that was causing, I don't know, all the water to act funny. But that being said, if they did that, would people get really outraged?
Oh, who knows? People get outraged about anything these days.
It's annoying because it's kids would learn a lot about traditional culture, right?
Yeah.
It'd be really interesting. But then at the end where Bronson gets to pee over the thing, I imagine some people would be like, oh, that's offensive. That really offends me that you'd appropriate someone else's religion like that. And it's well, what do you want?
Yeah.
That's all I can say. What do you want?
What do you want?
Okay.
What do I want?
What do I want? I want good characters. I want a good story, and I want Fiona to actually utilize her... to be utilized in some way other than just be, she didn't
Fiona.
actually do anything. It could have been somebody else entirely.
Yeah.
Every line she ever said could have been filled by someone else.
Anyway, the new Fiona is kind of this too cool for school, vapid, kind of only interested in looks character. She's very vain.
Blonde.
Yeah, she's blonde. She's quite different to the current Linda.
Yeah.
Gribble wants Tony to sell the lighthouse so that he can buy... Gribble wants Tony to sell the lighthouse so Tony can go and buy a neoclassical brick veneer 4-bedroom house.
Yeah. While we were recording, I asked Joe, because we're recording at his place.
Yeah, recording at my house today.
Mm-hmm. I asked him how many bedrooms he has in his house, and he has about 5. So it's essentially... It's a house smaller than his house.
The house that we're recording in,
Sure,
yes.
It sounds really good when you say it as the way Gribble says it, but it's just a regular house.
That's the point.
I know, right?
That is the point. Gribble is an excellent salesman.
Gribble is a terrible salesman.
He's an excellent salesman.
Tony should sell it to the lighthouse for a lot more than that.
Yes.
It's a historical monument.
Yes. Monument to progress.
Is it?
I don't know.
Maybe it is. Maybe it's
lighthouses.
Actually, technically, because it's there and it's not being utilized, but people don't want to knock it down.
Yeah.
It's actually an impediment to progress.
Interesting.
Because you could build something else there.
Matron's talking to Bronson. Are they still friends? We saw a little bit of their growing connection at the end of season 2.
I don't know. It's so hard to link the seasons because it's so hard to know if there's any continuity between them.
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like you said, it is hard to know if there's any continuity. I assumably so.
I'm treating it as if there is continuity between the seasons.
Okay.
Yeah.
They seem to forget things that have happened before, but who knows? Bronson says to her, he's going to get Faye pregnant so that his dad can live longer. And Nell's standing around and she says, oh, how are you going to get Faye pregnant, hey? Bronson says, all the normal ways. Trust me. Yeah, I got it all sorted.
It should have winked at the end. That would have been better, right?
Yeah, it would have been creepy.
Yeah.
That's what it would have been.
Yeah, well, it should have been like, I want to do it all the normal ways. Wink. And then everyone would have laughed and then freeze frame end.
Maybe. Back to Pete and the tree. The tree protects Pete by knocking over the Gribble guys. And they fall in this mud. And I find out later in the credits that this mud has been created by no other liquid than Pete's pea water.
Yes.
Urine.
I wrote something down here.
What did you write down?
So at the end I wrote that it's a mixture of pee and dirt to make the mud.
Yes.
Now Joe's talked about how at the end of the credits he said that pee is essentially tree semen, right? Or whatever it was. When you think about, well, actually it's not technically. It's more like, what is it? It's more like the eggs, because if Pete is the one who is holding on to the thing... Well, we
can talk about the mechanics of that once we get to...
But then I thought to myself, if mud, what is mud made out of? It's made of pee and it's made of dirt. And what is dirt?
Well, I don't know. What is dirt?
What is man made out of? If we go from a strictly... I
don't know, Anthony, you tell me.
Tell me, from the dirt that man has come to dirt that man shall return.
Yes.
So the mixture of dirt...
Dust to dust, ashes to ashes.
Dust to dust is ash to ash, right? You know that stuff. Mixture of dirt and pee equals new life. Gets in the face of Gribbles. What do you make of that?
I don't know. What am I supposed to make of that?
I take from that the decline of Western society.
Well, thank you for telling me what I'm supposed to take from that. Pete rushes back, and he's just met the girl of his dreams. Fiona is not impressed here, because apparently they have some sort of relationship. I don't know. Are they supposed to be dating? What is going on here? What is the status of their relationship?
Unclear.
Clearly,
it's complicated.
If Pete didn't know that they were dating, what right does she have to claim that he didn't date anybody else?
Yeah, I agree. It's like she's being a real bitch. Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah, essentially, really a big bitch. Because it's not fair what she's doing to Pete. They're not dating, or it's unclear if they were dating. Because season 2, were they dating at all? She was mad at him for not going to the dance with him or something at the end of season 2. For not choosing her, but they were never clear that they were dating at the time.
That is true.
Yeah.
Back in the lighthouse, Bronson's put a frog in Faye's wine to try and make her pregnant. Because before they were saying tadpole in the beer.
Yeah.
So he decided to go the whole hog and put in a frog. So,
and he's probably killed that frog, right?
Putting it in the wine, probably.
It would dry it out, right? And probably intoxicate it?
Yes.
Unlike the back of a frog's skin, doesn't it super absorbative or something? You're going to take...
Yes.
That's why you got to have wet hands or something. The chemicals. I have to imagine it would absorb all that alcohol and would just kill it.
Probably.
So if you're a biologist out there and you would know what happens to a frog if you put it in wine, please tell us, because I'd like to know. I found out what happens when you put a dead rat in Mountain Dew, and it's really disgusting. Please don't watch that video.
Pete's back home.
Yeah.
It's a bit later. It's in the lighthouse, and Pete's singing "I'm in love with a tree." He's a self-confessed dendrophiliac, right?
Yes,
correct?
dendrophile.
What are the implications of that? Is he going to live his life married to a tree?
He likes to bang trees, No judgment here, I'm not going to judge him. He just likes to be one with the trees and,
equal
love a tree.
rights for love, right?
Well, whatever. It's not like it's hurting anybody. It's hurting him, maybe with splinters or something. But, it's a tree. It's not even alive. Well, it is alive, but it's not really alive like we call it alive. You can cut down a tree and no one really cares, except some people.
The Dryad arrives in his room and says, "I want to be with you forever."
Yeah.
And Pete says, "I want to be with you forever." And she says, "We're having a baby." And Pete's quite surprised by this and very confused because in his words, "We didn't even touch. It's not possible."
This is this episode's about teen pregnancy.
And about the dangers of non-penetrative sex and their pregnative abilities.
I guess so, yeah. It is, or it's just like, a kid trying to rationalize, I love this woman, blah, blah, blah. I'm actually pregnant. Whoa. And then come on the adult breaks. This is when the brakes turn on and they go, oh my gosh, this is no longer a game. It's no joke anymore. Life is over, or life changes for me.
Yes.
So this whole episode's about that. But it's nice to
see a sticky situation.
To see the flip, if you will.
Yes, well...
The role reversal.
Pontillo wrote in, and Pontillo said, "It's an interesting take on how Pete's the one that gets pregnant. You can interpret this as a reflection of how the pregnancy process doesn't really affect men in the biological sense, and in a way it puts things into perspective of how women must feel, teen girls in particular. If only someone had explained to Pete the birds and the trees."
I enjoyed that. I did. That was a good... sensible chuckle I had at that.
A sensible chuckle.
A sensible chuckle.
As opposed to...
Because when you look at it and you're like, oh my, oh, quite, yes.
Pass me my snifter of brandy.
Oh, you slay me. Cheers.
The Dryad explains to Pete that if a man pees on a tree and then you hold hands and kiss, that means it's pregnancy.
Well, you know what? I'd love a sign. You're a tree, I know, but can you carve something into your body that says... peeing on me will make a baby. We don't need the handshake thing.
This is the thing. Ignorance. You can't plead ignorance in the court of pregnancy.
You can if you
because you didn't know doesn't mean you can't get pregnant.
You can if it's completely different to any type of pregnancy you've ever heard of in your life.
But it's a metaphor, Anthony. It's a metaphor for real life.
Well, our public schools,
roll in the hay?
Joe, should be teaching how you can have birth with a tree.
See, Paul Jennings, through his conduit, Espen Storm, have stepped in here to tell everyone about the dangers of pregnancy through this strange allegory of Pete having a burping pregnancy.
Do you know what's interesting, though?
What?
At no point was an abortion ever brought up.
Okay.
Never brought up. It was always assumed that you take responsibility for the child.
We might talk
What is Epsom Storm saying here?
We might talk about this a little bit
later. I don't like
to
say that. I don't want you to say that. Because I'm okay.
What?
I'm okay putting words in Paul Jennings' mouth because he's alive to refute these things.
Yes.
Right? As far as we know, Epsom Storm is dead.
Espen Storm is definitely
dead. He's confirmed as dead. So I don't like to say that Epsom Storm has said or done any things because he isn't alive to defend himself or take me to task. Like, Paul Jennings
look at you.
Ever listen to our podcast, he'd go, well, Anthony, I like that you like the show, but you're full of shit. Boom, I'm done. But no one can do that for Epsom Storm.
This is going to be terrible for our podcast if Paul Jennings dies then. Then we can't talk rubbish about him.
Well, we'll have to make up a book.
Not that we love you, Paul Jennings.
We do.
We do.
We love Paul a lot.
Yeah.
And
good.
I got another clue for you all.
What?
The walrus is Paul.
Oh,
yeah.
Look at you.
Look at me.
Cultural references
Pop culture
from
reference
30 years ago.
Paul McCartney's dead. Look it up.
So Pete's pregnant, and in 2 days he's going to be the mother. Okay. Do you want to talk quickly about the dynamics of this?
What do you mean?
How can he be a mother? He's male.
Yeah. You were going through that the episode. Oh, you can't be a mother if you're male. And I was like, I brought this up and I thought, what is a mother? And what is a father? Okay.
Okay.
All right, so what is a father? I mean, okay, the father has three essential roles in a traditional society. We're going to go with a traditional Western society. Anyone screams at my ideas, you know what, just write to the German government or something, whatever, I don't care. First off, the father's usually a male, okay? That's usually some sort of biological.
Are you talking cultural or biological?
I'm talking about the cultural ties to the word father.
Okay.
So, usually relates to a male, right?
Yes.
Always a male.
I meant more biological.
Yeah, well, and then there's also head of the house being the father. The protector, head of house being the father, which is why... No, this is... You laugh, you snicker, okay? But there's a reason why the Führer was called the Führer.
Why, Anthony?
It's because...
I have a feeling you're going to tell me.
All right, the Führer, but also in ancient Rome, they called him like the Pater Patriae, which is like the father of the fatherland. Because the father is the head of the household, ergo, he's the head of the nation. So he leads and he's like that important role. Whereas the mother had also had in a traditional Western society being the caring, loving role. Now, we've seen that gender thing sort of switch, but we're not talking about that. The giver of genetic information versus the holder of genetic information and the birther of the child. I've always been told that if you give birth to said child, you are the mother, right? That's how I've always heard the mother. If you can be a woman...
Is this cultural or biological?
This is biological now. Okay. Right? But you say that, no, a woman is the mother and the father is the male.
Okay. From my understanding...
Yes.
Of biology, the male is the one that impregnates the female.
Yeah.
Okay? So the question comes down to impregnation.
Yeah.
Okay? Does Pete impregnate the Dryad, which then goes inside him by some kind of spiritual mechanics?
Yeah.
Or does the Dryad impregnate Pete? Now let's talk very quickly about the mechanics of the pregnancy. So Pete peed on the Dryad. That could be the sperm.
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
It could be. Or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe the egg. Whatever. He pees on the Dryad.
Yeah.
Now the Dryad comes out of the tree, holds his hand, and they kiss.
Yeah.
Does the Dryad impregnate Pete in the kiss? Or did Pete impregnate the Dryad that then passed the egg into him in the kiss?
Well...
Is it kind of an alien situation?
We know for a fact at the end of the episode that the Pete is indeed shares genetic information because the child that comes out has in the face looks like Pete.
Yeah,
okay?
we'll
get to it.
Mark my words. We will talk about that baby.
So we know that happens. So you might be right in the sense that because you can think about this like from a surrogate mother. No one refers to, well, there you go, surrogate mother actually.
Surrogacy.
You aren't technically the real mother, but a surrogate mother still holds the child.
In my theory, right? Pete's pee is the sperm that lands on the tree.
Yeah.
The Dryad then, the egg
Yeah.
is then impregnated inside her.
Yeah.
And then she passes that back into the male, which
Yeah.
is Pete, which will then give birth to it later.
Yeah.
So she's, in my theory, she would still be the female, but
Sure.
Pete would give birth.
Sure. That is true. But let me counter your argument with IVF.
Okay.
All right. In the same way that a man will produce the sperm, which then goes into the egg in an IVF test tube, which is then injected into into a woman who is now the surrogate mother, you still refer to the surrogate mother as a surrogate mother. And thus, therefore, mother actually relates to the holder of the egg and not the producer of the egg.
Biology, hey? It's complicated.
Here's something interesting I just want to tag on before we quickly go. In the future, when there's artificial wombs, what will be the mother? Who will be the father? Will those roles still exist?
Robots.
Okay, that was a terrible answer, but yeah, I'm just
What
saying.
do you want? You dropping me a hypothetical question?
I'm just saying, okay.
Rhetorical
As I
question?
said before, this is why I brought up the
You don't
reason.
want my answer?
This is the reason why I said, like, that there's a male, there's male and female traditional
Yes.
roles in households. They're changing, right? So we can just scrap that for a sec. All right. But the role of holding the genetic information and the giving of genetic information is going to change when there's artificial wombs. So at that point, do we still refer to the female as the mother and the father as the male?
I think they're separate. I think cultural roles, mother and father, are different from biological roles, mother and father.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough.
And we could talk about that for ages.
We could.
But we're running out of time because you talked too long about Caesar and Führer, and now I'm wasting time.
I was bringing up, like, the cultural implications of the word father.
Which stemmed from my question of biological, who did what.
Well, I was just trying to be further minded, Thinking
I'm
in the
sure
future,
the
my
listeners
friend.
thank you.
They do. They say, Anthony?
Do they write to you in emails?
They write me emails and they say, Anthony, those
No.
noises Joe makes.
No, they don't.
What's up with that? Can you stop that? And I say, well, I can't. Nothing can be done.
It's the next day. Pete's having morning sickness. Bronson is burning something in the oven. What is it? It's buns. He's put buns in the oven. He's trying to get Faye pregnant. Pete's going to introduce his family to the Dryad. Okay, but there's two problems. He's too sick, and B, nobody can see the Dryad except for Pete, because she has chosen to only reveal herself to Pete because she's selfish. I don't know. Why else, I guess.
I don't know.
He's trying to talk to his dad, and he says, I've met this girl. I love her, but one thing led to another, and he pulls a carrot out of the fridge, and he puts it in his mouth. Now, you say that this doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
But it's hard for me to not believe that this was not intentional.
What do you think it is, Joe?
It's just, if you're talking about sexual things, you can't have the character talk about sexual things, put a phallic object in their mouth.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess so.
It's almost a parody of itself.
But you could find that with everything, though. I mean, imagine if you ate an apple.
That's fine. What's phallic about an apple?
It's not phallic
What's
at all.
What's sexual about an apple?
It's sexual is that was the he ate an apple, right? Just like in the Garden of Eden, right?
No, that's reaching.
No, it's not reaching at all. It's just all right, so I don't think it was phallic at all. I think he was just looking for a distraction.
Why not choose an apple then?
Because you don't keep apples in the fridge.
You do.
You do not.
Where do you keep your apples?
I keep them outside.
You heathen.
What?
Put your apple in the fridge.
You do not put your apples in the fridge.
Yeah, you do.
What?
Yeah, you put your apples and you keep your bananas out of the fridge.
Yeah, if you said bananas in the fridge, I would have said, you're a weirdo. You're a real weirdo.
Apples in the fridge, bananas out of the fridge.
All right, I will concede to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I bet you will.
Yeah. So apparently,
yeah,
carrots are a phallic thing. And then I guess
they are. And Tony says, you didn't get her pregnant, did you? And he says, no, don't worry about that. I'm pregnant. And
just casually just saying that to my dad. I'm pregnant, Dad. And then what hit...
Bronson says, Faye got you pregnant? Bronson's a very confused boy.
Bronson needs a lot of help.
He's very confused about sexuality and reproduction in general, and you think that after the big fiasco with the Cabbage Patch and him having a child...
Nearly murdering a baby.
You think that this would have been properly explained to him.
They did try to explain it to him.
They just told him more lies.
They did, right? So, Child Protective Services? I don't know. Maybe
somebody needs to
Someone needs to speak to Bronson and say, look, here's the truth of it. Here's how babies are born, all this stuff, It's bad.
Speaking about the Cabbage Patch fib, this episode is basically a repeat of that episode, just not as good.
Yeah.
Did we say that already?
I don't think we have said that, but it is pretty much the repeat of the Cabbage Patch fib episode. But except one is more... One is different. One is different. Okay, they are different.
After. One is fatherhood.
One is the dealing with the parents. One is giving birth to and having the child, carrying the child inside you and all those issues. Well, the other is caring for the child. But I think the Cabbage Patch fib is better.
Yes.
Simply because this one was just, this episode was an imitation of pregnancy. So it had all the jokes, inside jokes of pregnancy. So any mother who's watching can go, haha, I get it. That's a joke. But it didn't have the nice intricacies of, motherhood is difficult. Let's show respect to mothers, I guess, is what they were trying to say.
Cabbage Patch fib was teen pregnancy or young pregnancy. Young fatherhood or motherhood. Parenthood is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And this one is just the pregnancy aspect.
Yes, it's just
it doesn't deal with what comes after that. So this might be an issue, the pregnancy thing, but what happens after that is kind of the big deal, and that's what the Cabbage Patch fib was about.
Yeah.
Now, Linda says, you're not biologically equipped, you can't have a child, I'm a feminist,
That's weird, right?
Yeah.
That she wouldn't
you think she'd be supportive?
She thinks she'd be more open because she's far more liberal. You think more conservative person would say such a thing like that?
That's the thing about the left.
Okay. Go on.
They pretend to be all inclusive unless it's something that they don't agree with. Oh yeah, we love everyone, love for everyone. People that hate people that we love, we hate. Oh, hang on a second. You don't love everyone then, do you?
That is true.
You only love the people that you like. If you're going to love everyone, you're going to love the people that hate the people that you love.
But then they will counter that by saying tolerance of intolerance is intolerance.
What?
That's what they say.
Tolerance of intolerance is intolerance. Is that what they say?
Basically.
I say that intolerance of intolerance is intolerance.
Huh?
If you're not being tolerant of intolerant people, you're being intolerant yourself. So aren't you just as bad as the people that you're not tolerating?
Yeah, Joe.
I've never said tolerate as many times.
They're racist, so...
Yeah, but the problem is...
Are you a racist?
I don't agree with... No, I'm not.
You sound like a racist to me.
Oh, it's a step down, Anthony.
That's something that a racist would say. Are you a racist?
No, I just find it difficult to understand. It's like, oh yeah, we're all inclusive, but only of the people that we approve.
Only people don't pretend... approve? Are you saying that some people aren't people, Joe? Are you a racist?
No, I'm not a racist. I'm just saying...
I'm just pretending to be.
Don't claim to be all inclusive when you're not. I think it's fine to not tolerate people.
Yeah, fair enough.
Have your own opinions. Don't tolerate people. Just don't go around saying that you're this amazing human being because I don't know, you go to leftist conventions and grew up on a hippie farm.
I don't necessarily I say tolerate. I think more like ready acceptance. I think tolerance is essential for everybody because you live in a world, you just need to tolerate people.
No, okay? Hate breeds hate. Hate breeds hate.
No, you just need to be like, this is a guy, this is what he does. Yeah. Right? Fine, whatever.
Yeah, leave
you can have a discussion. That's tolerance, Joe.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying tolerance is fine. Acceptance is not something you all have to do. You don't have to accept someone's view.
That's what I'm saying also.
I agree with that. It's like, whatever. And if somebody is born a certain way or not born a certain way, as long as you're not going around trying to stop them or hurt them in some way, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't care.
But what gets my goat up is these
they're
leftists,
amazing people. Because they are belonging to a particular organization.
Yeah.
Or affiliation or anything. They are amazing and we love all of them. It's like, what?
Yeah.
You've never met all of them, so how do you love all of them?
Let's look at Westboro Baptist Church for a sec.
Yeah.
Right? They are not very nice people.
They are not.
But it doesn't mean that you have to be horrible about them. You don't have to say horrible things about them. You don't have to do horrible things. Just, ignore them.
Yeah.
You don't have to...
In fact, hating the Westboro Baptist Church is the one
That's what they want.
They want to do.
They love it.
Have you not read that Bible passage which talks about how people who follow me will be hated by those who follow
they love
Satan?
it.
There's a Bible verse, it's in one of the apostles, not apostles, what's it called? The first 4 books of the New Testament. They're called something. Come on.
I'm drawing a blank too,
okay, I don't know what they're called, but someone knows what they are. It's in there somewhere and it talks about, hating someone, that they will hate you because of me.
Yeah, Gospels.
Yeah, that's it, the Gospels, right? They will hate you because of me, and thus they feel vindicated whenever they get hate.
Yeah, that's the correct word. Yep. Vindication.
Like there was this thing I saw as well. Someone had bought a house right in front of the Westboro Baptist Church and painted a rainbow flag color on it, and everyone was like, "Yeah, this will show them." But it's like, okay, so that it is also a symbol of God's covenant, right?
Yeah.
So painting it as a rainbow just would reinforce their values, would make them actually feel good about themselves. What you should paint it as is like a giant anus or something.
No, you should just don't do anything. don't give them attention and they'll eventually go
They'll
away.
go away. Or they'll just be ignored. They'll be like, oh, they're over there again. You know? It's the same. This is the same thing with other people, though. With Anita Sarkeesian, right?
Yes.
If you don't like her, just stop following her. Okay?
Yeah.
If you start just going on about her, you're just spreading the viral message of her further.
Yeah.
You're just bringing her more into the public consciousness. If you don't like someone, just leave them alone. Just stop talking about them and they'll go away.
Exactly. Now, the Dryad tells Pete that it's going to come out of his mouth, the baby that is. Pete's not happy about this, nor would I be if a baby was going to pop out of my mouth. Pete shows his belly, and we're assured that he is indeed pregnant. Pete asks his family, you think I'm going to make the footy team then?
I don't think he ever was going to make the footy team to begin with.
No, because it's Pete. And this Pete, not the greatest of Petes, and we have some input from Hayden Redding.
Yep.
Hayden Redding.
I don't know.
One of our good fans. He's on the Chicken Twisties group, and he says, this Pete annoys me as he always sounds as if he's about to cry and is wimpy. Lol. I agree with that sentiment. He is indeed wimpy. Lol.
Yep. Good.
Pete is taking the Dryad to school. Pete's not impressed about being pregnant. And he says, I don't want anybody to know about this because I'm going to get teased really badly, blah, 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 blah. The Gribbles come to attack him, and the first thing he says is, don't attack me, don't hurt me, I'm pregnant.
Yeah.
They're disgusted.
They are disgusted, not very tolerant.
The idea of male pregnancy disgusts them.
Well,
they should take their privilege and go home.
It's kind of gross, though.
You should take your privilege and go home, Anthony.
I will go. I will take my privilege.
Cisgendered scum.
White scum male. Yeah, I understand. Whatever. But, first time I've ever seen a man pregnant, it's kind of gross. I've never seen one. So,
Yeah.
And I mean a real,
Yes, I know what you're saying.
I know
what you're saying here.
I don't want to say that, but it's there was a big media story ages ago, which is the pregnant woman. I'm like, it's not that big of a deal because the person could biologically carry a child.
Yeah, the problem was it was a woman to begin with that became a man, so had all the parts.
Or she realized that she was a man.
I don't know the political correct terminology, but she had the woman parts and had transitioned into a man and was pregnant because she had woman bits. Surprise!
Surprise! A person who can carry a child carries a child.
Yeah.
And what's worse is that it actually distracts from the fact that a regular woman would never make the news for having a child. It's women do that all the time. But no, let's just focus on this one guy.
Yeah.
He's special for some reason. You have 9 children, that's a pretty big deal. All right.
They're at school, and conveniently Snap's teaching about puberty, and he describes it as a transition period.
It's a bit on the nose, to be honest, how he's talking about this.
Snapper always talks about relevant themes. It's just like Nell used to always give us exposition.
Snapper teaches relevant themes?
Yeah, he teaches us relevant themes. Because he's the director. Espen Storm, director. He's like, I got to be the thematic voice.
Literally. My artistic vision must be recognised.
Fiona's very jealous of Pete's girlfriend. And the Gribbles tell Snapper that Pete thinks he's pregnant. And Snapper tells Pete to go and see the school psychiatrist. 2 problems. Snapper... not a very tolerant person.
Thinks homosexuality and transsexuals are a mental illness.
Yes,
that's what I got out of it.
That's been confirmed now.
It's the last time he was talking about it being an abomination in previous episodes. This time he's go see a psychiatrist because clearly you're mentally ill.
The second problem here is that the school has a psychiatrist. Where'd they get this psychiatrist?
Yeah.
Psychiatrist is a trained doctor, Snapper, where you just get one off the street and have it for your school.
Snapper
Who's
is
doing
smart enough to know the difference between a psychiatrist, a psychologist, and a counsellor.
We'll come to this later, but the school doesn't even have a school nurse. Get your priorities right. Unless we're talking about Splooge, unless Splooge is somehow transitioned
how much
into
are
being...
they? A good psychiatrist probably going to cost you $150,000.
Yeah, maybe it's just
more,
Splooge. Maybe Splooge is a psychiatrist. Is Miss James a psychiatrist?
What is she doing teaching a school if she's a psychiatrist?
Yeah, go and make more money elsewhere.
Make some decent cash. I'm not saying that you can't be a teacher and a psychiatrist, but I do feel if you're a psychiatrist, you're a profession, you've trained for 10, 15 years, you might be wasting your gift if you're working in a public school.
I don't care about
unless you're in your older age.
Children.
Well, if you're 60 or 70 and it's I just want to work as a teacher, fine. But come on, you are wasting your talent.
Yes.
But if you really love it, whatever, I don't care. It's your life.
Back in the Lighthouse, Pete wants chocolate sauce on his tripe. He's having pregnancy cravings.
Really gross.
Bit of a pregnancy joke.
So gross that Bronson won't even eat it. So you know it's bad.
Gribble rings up and he's talking about media sponsorship and media rights. He's going to organise a press conference. Linda thinks that Pete should do some birthing classes, and Bronson says, don't you mean burping classes? Oh, very funny there, Bronson.
And we were talking about this actually before with the pregnant man and how there was a big media circus.
Yeah.
And it's totally ringing true.
Yeah, it's true, yeah. But Pete is biologically incapable.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the main difference.
But no one cared. No one really cared in this. No one really cared in the story though. It was just a pregnant woman. Yes. A pregnant man. So it's like, and this was before the story came out.
Well, they do get bored.
So this is Ebsen Storm predicting the future once again.
Thanks, Espen.
Or it's Espen or Ebsen.
Espen.
Espen.
Oh, who knows how to pronounce the
names?
Foreign
who knows names? Names are too hard.
From bloody Norway or something.
You don't know that.
It's
racist.
He was from
You're now
Norway.
racist to everyone from Scandinavia.
He was actually from Scandinavia.
All right, there you should say Scandinavia or Europe.
Europe in general.
Bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't know where the white guy comes from and he's got a weird sounding name, it's probably from Europe.
You Europeans.
Because Russia is also in Europe, kind of.
Sort out your debt crisis with Greece, you European scumbags.
We love you if you're in Europe.
The Dryad is creepily supportive and is like, I'll look after you and you'll be mine forever. Bronson wouldn't eat Peter's dinner.
As I said.
Because it's disgusting.
He's got more common sense than previous Bronsons.
Pete's starting to have mood swings. Gribble is starting to repeat the whole thing, the whole rigmarole that he went through in the Cabbage Patch episode where he's trying to get the media circus involved. This is just a rehash.
We said that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Espen's so lazy that he can't even come up with his own storylines. First episode of season 3, just rehashing one of the greats.
Maybe. But let's think about this though. How long ago was that? Maybe it's a reboot of Cabbage Patch Kids.
Reboot?
Because it's 15 years ago? 16
doesn't
years?
Mean you have right to rip it off, Espen.
He does.
Settle down, mate.
Just settle down, eh? Mate.
Later on, Pete's up in his room and he's starting to nest. He wants to paint everything. And Linda comes in and says, calm down, Pete. Less than 1% of women die in childbirth. And Pete asks her, what percentage of boys die in childbirth? And Linda scoffs, but I think this is a fair question. What percentage of boys do die in childbirth? How do you know, Linda? I'm sure many children have died born wrong with the umbilical cord strangling them or something.
Yeah.
Calm down,
I'm pretty
Linda.
sure that's not what the question is.
That is exactly the question that was asked, and I will answer it as so.
The answer to that question is 0% of men have ever died during childbirth.
Gribble is holding a press conference for Port Noranda, and he's saying that, it's in the water that makes us pregnant. It's right outside the Lighthouse, and Pete comes out, and he's very upset. He's being interviewed by the press. He's having another mood swing. It turns out that it is confirmed that he's 13. Yes. 13 and pregnant, and also late for school.
Oh, just where did Tony go wrong with this kid, eh?
Pete's in class, and the Dryad is having her own problems, and she's very upset, and she says, I'm see-through. Everyone ignores me and pretends I don't exist. Well, you know what, Miss Dryad? I've got some information for you. If you wanted to be seen by people, then how about you make yourself visible?
That's true. Pete can see you. Why can't anybody else see you?
If you actually just declared yourself to people, there'd be less fuss. See, this is one of the rules of Around the Twist, right? That we've talked about before. If you actually spoke about your problems to an actual responsible adult, you probably wouldn't have that problem.
Yeah, and look, we say this, the moral of many of these stories is go see an adult. Yeah, this one's the same. It's actually, this one should be go see a doctor,
Where's the doctor visit?
Where is the doctor?
2-day pregnancy. You should be rushing to that doctor.
Yeah.
I don't care if you have to go to the mainland. Get on a ferry.
Yeah, you've got ferries. And what, a doctor's not going to want to see this? I mean, how many universities are going to send grad students just to have a look and write papers on it? Exactly. And when you're supposed to give birth through the baby through the mouth, how is that not going to, far more dangerous? What if the baby gets obstructed and he can't breathe?
Yep.
He could die,
This is clearly Tony's fault then.
Why?
Why didn't he bring a doctor?
Maybe he doesn't
There's
believe
something wrong with
Maybe he doesn't believe in doctors.
Maybe.
Maybe he's more like,
You hippie artsy lefty commie.
I don't immunize my children and I don't believe in doctors.
Let's not talk about immunization.
Well, no,
because that's a rabbit hole.
Yeah, it is a rabbit hole. And you should see the rabbit hole websites. Man, they're all in black and they've got flaming Obama skulls.
What are you talking about?
You've ever been on those websites that are immunization is evil and stuff, and it's always Obama is the Antichrist and there's pictures of Obama, but his face is sort of on fire because it's he's secretly the Antichrist. It's all black and stuff.
Classic Tea Party antics.
Well, for a fact that it's a bad website when it's black with white text and no formatting whatsoever.
Yes.
It's I'm in the bad part of the internet.
Or I've just stumbled upon 1982.
Yeah.
Pete can't deal with her problems, the Dryad's problems.
Of course.
And snaps at her. And snap, the character, he's irritated, and he says, "What's your problem, Pete?" And Pete says, "I think it's called prenatal stress."
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm not sure if it was a joke or not. Were we supposed to laugh? I don't know.
I don't know.
The press arrive at school. Who is the father? Pete, who's trying to leave the school, says, "Oh, well," he drops it, it's a she.
Yeah.
And the press are very surprised. Should they be?
I don't know. Yes.
So they thought that Pete was in a same-sex relationship with somebody that impregnated him.
Well, they're not really sure, I guess. I guess to them, it's more likely that a male could be pregnant than it is that a woman would be the father.
See, it kind of makes sense in my brain. Maybe it's just from watching the episode.
Maybe it's just...
If a male is pregnant, is the female the impregnator?
Yeah, but it's like, I guess cultural standards would be like, who's the father? Wait, a woman's the father. And it's like, yeah, because, the man is the mother. Obviously. Duh. This is what we were talking about before, the old cultural link to the words parents, father and mother, versus the biological word.
Yeah. Gribble says to the press, "Look, guys, the father's not important," and the Dryad, who's just had a fight with Pete about problems, disappears because she doesn't like not being a part of the picture. Again, make yourself visible and you probably wouldn't have a problem.
I agree. You're a deadbeat father, or so that's what it's trying to say, right?
Father, mother, something.
Parent. Whatever. Deadbeat contributor of DNA.
Pete is rushed back inside, away from the press, and he starts to burp. Burp and burp. Is he having contractions? Why, yes, he is. Yes. And Linda decides to take him to the sick bay. Now, the Gribbles, they come to attack Pete. They want to beat him up,
a pregnant woman.
Linda says, there's no time for this. He's about to give birth. And Bronson says, "Can't you see that he's a contractor?"
Yeah.
He is a contractor. And the Gribbles then decide to help instead of beating him up. They'll beat him up afterwards.
Which is
there's
just
time,
awful.
There's time for
just
beating
awful.
up.
You're getting out of hospital, just delivered a baby, and then someone's going to beat you up. Doesn't seem fair at all.
I've got a note from Pontillo here that says, when Pete is about to give birth, Bronson says, "Can't you see he's a contractor?" Well, Pete's standing around and being carried by other people, so Bronson's not half wrong.
This is true.
This is true. The Gribbles are then helping, and Pete sends Bronson to get the Dryad.
Yes.
Go and get the father, mother, whatever she is. Go and get the woman that I love. The press leave Gribble because they've become bored because Pete's not there. And
I thought they got called because someone told the press. That's what I thought originally when I saw it, but I guess they don't show up in the hospital.
No, they don't come later.
So they don't even care. So it shows how fleeting the media is with stories. Very
biting satire.
Satire there.
Bronson takes the bike that belongs to one of the Gribbles and begins to ride away. Gribble sees this, and it's implied that he'll follow, which we'll see very shortly. Linda opens up Pete's mouth, and she's checking if he's dilated yet. Tiger enlightens us by saying he's seen a movie with a birth in it. What movie do you think it was? Alien.
Oh, really? Alien?
Alien.
What? Oh, I did not see that coming.
Pete keeps burping. Bronson arrives at the tree, and Gribble follows on his bike. He's riding hilarious. It's like whenever a fat man rides a bike, all of a sudden it's, oh, look at this. He can't ride a bike properly.
Because he's fat.
Look at him flop all over the place. He's a grown man trying to ride a children's bike. Enough of this joke. Yeah, I get it.
He's fat.
Physical comedy.
He's fat and people. He's an adult and he can't.
It's hilarious.
Ride. It's hilarious. Did you say hilaire?
Hilaire.
As in kind of like halal.
No,
okay,
not
that's what
like
I picked
halal.
up. Right.
Hilaire, as in hilarious.
Oh, hilaire.
As in commedia dell'arte, the laughing milk.
Goes right through my body and I'm satisfied.
Bronson's walking towards a tree and we see a couple of mushrooms on the ground.
Yes. Now I was like,
Pontillo noticed this as well, but these mushrooms, yuckles.
They looked a lot like yuckles.
They were too small. It was definitely a reference, though, I think.
I don't know. What if they were yuckles and they were infecting other areas of the forest?
The yuckles are clearly still around.
So what if the yuckles were actually a deadly fungus that should have been destroyed?
Perhaps.
And now, because what's-his-name isn't the senator, and didn't build this casino, the yuckles are spreading like a plague.
Maybe. So, Bronson calls for the tree to help, but the Dryad doesn't answer.
Yes.
At the sick bay, they're saying that breathing is important for burping. I do believe that is a skill that is required.
In burping?
Good breathing control for good burping.
I guess so.
If you're trying to fake burp.
Yeah.
You need to focus on your breathing.
Otherwise, you get gas trapped in your belly.
Well, yes.
Yeah, and then it's like you can't get it out, and you feel really sick trying to get it out.
Linda calls for water, and Rabbit says if he can't get water, he'll get Diet Cola.
I don't get that.
Yeah, I don't quite get it. I think it's just because he was a moron.
Maybe, but like...
I do like the new Gribble gang.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Maybe it works because Diet Cola has no sugar in it, so you don't have to worry about sweet stuff. But it's still got the carbonic acid in it.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. So maybe that could be used to sterilize stuff.
Bronson keeps calling in the forest, and he doesn't know what to do about the fast contractors. I'd say, keep it to yourself, mate.
Yeah.
You don't want people catching on to these fast contractors because then it'll probably become slow.
Or they're dodgy contractors. They're
They
like
might
the
be
kind of
dodgy.
people who, dig up your front driveway and then offer to fix it for you. You've heard of those Irish things? Yeah.
We've talked about Irish contractors on the show before.
Irish contractors, yeah. So, fast contractors are not a good thing.
Gribble's still stalking Bronson, and the Dryad comes out of the tree. But Gribble reveals himself to Bronson, and Bronson thinks that the Dryad is Mr. Gribble, even though he knows Mr. Gribble.
Yeah.
He says, "Are you Jeannie?" Jeannie being the first name of the Dryad.
Yes.
Well, I guess it's not too far of a stretch, because Pete has been impregnated by somebody.
Yeah.
That would be a twist if it ended up being Mr. Gribble.
That'd be weird. He'd be sent to prison.
He would be sent to prison. Gribble explains that if Pete explodes, it's bad for Port Noranda. Now, I have to disagree with him here. And I think that if Pete explodes, it is good for Port Noranda.
Why is that?
Because an exploding boy in pregnancy, people are going to come for miles to see this. Port Noranda is going to be on the map again.
That's true. Maybe, you should have blown up the hospital then.
Possibly.
Yeah. That would have put him really on the map.
Yeah. Are you talking about terrorism here, Anthony?
I guess so. like Harold.
You've got enough black marks against your name, mate.
You
better slow it down.
I gotta slow it down. I was just referencing
Get yourself added to another watch list.
Yeah, well, I already am on the watch list.
You're on all the watch lists.
The government's like, oh, keep an eye on that guy. I'm like, why?
I wonder if there's a watch list for podcasters.
Yeah, well, you got to say the magic words.
What words?
Australian Federal Police, Allah Akbar, and fertilizer. Nitrogen fertilizer. One more time, Australian Federal Police.
Yeah.
That activates the keyword search. Like, oh my gosh, fertilizer. He said something that was vaguely racist, or Islamic. And then he also said the Australian Federal Police.
Well, there goes my dreams of working for ASIO.
Yeah, well, mate, you were on a podcast that said some
Australian
negative words.
Federal Police.
Don't come in tomorrow.
I've actually been in trouble from the Australian Federal Police
Have you
before.
really?
Well, yeah. Well, sort of.
What'd you do?
We were in Canberra a couple of weeks ago, and we drove up to Parliament House, and there were these people stopped on the side of the road just staring at Parliament House, and we pulled up right behind them and got out of the car and started waltzing up to the Parliament House, and the AFP rolled up and were like, "You can't park here, move on please, hurry up." And so we had to get back in our car and drive. So I've been in trouble with the AFP before.
Fair enough. But you set it up being a little bit more interesting.
Well, that was the point, Anthony. That was the joke.
The second you said in Canberra, I went, well, that's not a good story. There are no other police in Canberra.
They're still federal police.
Fair enough.
The Dryad comes out of the tree and approaches Gribble and Bronson. Okay? And instead of being surprised, Bronson says to Gribble, "You think that the spirit would want to be there for Pete because he loves her." And back in the hospital, Pete's sweating and burping, and the Dryad appears. Yeah. She's heard Bronson's pleas, and she's sorry. Tiger prepares his catching mitt to catch whatever is going to come out of Pete's mouth.
Yeah.
And the Dryad massages Pete's throat. And he vomits this hairy, weird thing in his final contraction and vomits it
Gross.
into his belly.
Most
It
disgusting
is
thing I've ever
the
seen.
most disgusting thing that either of us have ever seen.
Lynchian style baby.
You should look it up. You should look up this picture because it's horrific. It kind of looks like David Lynch.
Yeah, I'm probably going to make it the splash art for this week's episode. It's
So you've probably
gross.
seen it when you clicked on the image.
You're like, oh, yuck.
And everyone fawns over this baby. The Dryad says it's the most beautiful spirit ever. Linda's crying. Rabbit's crying. Tiger's crying. Pete keeps burping. Is it going to be twins? No, it's just the afterbirth.
Or as he called it, the after burp.
Oh! The Gribbles faint at this disgusting sight. And I probably would too.
Yeah,
this looked like his intestines coming out of his mouth. And Linda's very happy and proud. Now she's supportive of this non-natural human.
Yeah, now that society,
child.
now that the populace is for it, she's like, oh, no, I love this child. No, I was never against it.
The Dryad's happy now that the Dryad tree gets a spirit, and assumably she's just going to bail now. She's going to take the baby and go. She used Pete.
She kind of did.
What a user.
He has rights to see that child.
He has visitation rights at the very least.
He carried the child.
Which we see in the next scene, in which the trees are inhabiting spirits in what Stephen Wadpole describes as looking scary, like the opening of Teletubbies.
I have to agree, it looked a lot like the opening of Teletubbies.
The opening of Teletubbies, by the way, is terrifying.
Yeah, it is. A little baby in the moon. Or not moon, sun, is it? Whatever.
Doesn't matter
whatever it is. Like, it's gross. Just terrifying.
The Twists and Nell are having a picnic underneath the trees. Bronson is talking to his father and new mother. And he's saying, listen, Faye, I can't get you pregnant, so you'll have to do it yourself. And Dad, you'll have to keep yourself alive. Somebody needs to explain this to Bronson, because she can't impregnate herself. Yep. She's not an asexual being. She'll probably need Tony to do that for her.
Yep. Failed him again, Tony.
Bronson's telling us that he never wants to have a baby. It's too much of an issue. Too much craziness going on. And he goes to pee on a tree.
He had a baby, though.
He did.
Like...
Short-term memory here,
Short-term memory, Bronson. Or is it fit into the multiverse theory?
Each season is a different multiverse.
Sort of, yeah.
And as Bronson's going to pee on a tree, Pete yells out, "Don't do it." He's had enough trauma already.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's right in front of his own child. Like, he was happy to have the child and all that. But when he sees his brother nearly pee on the tree and give birth to the child, he's like, I hate my child, basically.
And that's the end of the episode.
Yeah.
That took quite a bit longer than expected.
Well, this was a big episode.
Yeah, and we've got a couple more things to talk about. Thanks, everybody, for writing in this week. Just to close up, Stephen Wadpole rated the episode for us. He said the only highlight of the episode was listening to Thames and West sing the theme at the end. This is only worth a tin of Aldi spaghetti in a bargain bin. Thank you for using our rating system there, Wadpole.
Yeah, it was good.
And Pontillo rated the episode as well, and he rated it not a bad start to season 3, enough content to keep you engaged with the episode, 7 out of 10 bowls of spaghetti and some chocolate sauce for dessert. Hold the tripe. I will indeed, Pontillo. I'll hold that tripe.
I will hold it.
What would you rate the episode, Anthony?
I don't know. 7 out of 10? 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10 watts.
What kind of spaghetti do I want? I like pinwheels.
Pinwheels? What's
pinwheels are not spaghetti. No. 6 out of 10 bowls of spaghetti. Fettuccine carbonara, actually. It's a little bit different. So I'm going to go 6 out of 10 fettuccine carbonara bowls with extra sauce and bacon. And actually, you know what? Just hold the pasta and just give me the sauce and bacon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
What about you?
I will rate it 5 out of 10 bowls of tortellini.
Oh, there you go.
Because why not?
Why not get some tortellini?
As we say on the show sometimes, why not? If you enjoyed listening to the episode or would like to hear more about our podcast, you can contact us on any of our social media methods in which somebody has.
Yes.
Christian Jeski, which is the correct pronunciation of what I thought was to be pronounced as Jasiki.
Yes. We have a terrible way of pronouncing names on this
contacted us a few times, and he's a big fan of the show, and he's informed us that he's almost up to date. So he's been back watching our catalogue, and he's almost up to date.
I can actually see you when I'm doing the stats each week. I can see somebody's been watching
plowing through the archives.
Plowing through the episodes. I'm like, oh, there he goes.
He's nearly up to date. So there's a couple of episodes away, so that's great.
I think it's him. I don't know.
It could be anybody.
There's a whole bunch of people who watched last week.
It could be you.
Could be you, yeah.
If you want to tell us about your experience with our podcast or the experience with Round the Twist, you can contact us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, iTunes. I don't know if you can contact us on iTunes, but you can subscribe to us there, and you can get the episode.
Subscribe us on iTunes and rate us on iTunes, and get the episode like right when it comes out, fresh out of the oven, as opposed to when it's cold and not out of the oven, like some gross bread. Or hard brick bread.
Burnt like Bronson's buns.
Yeah, you want fresh, yum, delicious bread. So subscribe to us on al dente bread. So subscribe to us on iTunes for that. Join the Chicken Twisties group. Find us on Facebook.
Tales from the Twists.
Tales from the Twists. And on Twitter, it's TFT Twists.
Yes, we're also on YouTube at Tales from the Twists. And we're probably on a bunch of other social medias that we're not forgetting. We have a WordPress. You can find us there. Read about the episodes. And that's pretty much all we have time for today.
We do. That's
because we're grossly over time.
We are so over
Which
time.
it was kind of be expected because it's the first episode back.
So many things to talk about.
There's a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
I think our season 2 first episode went a bit over as well.
It did.
So this is an outlier. We do try to keep the episodes about an hour. If you want longer ones, though, if you do like the longer length, let us know.
Yeah.
We'll consider it. We'd like to have an idea what you guys like. Do you like the long ones? Do you like the shorter ones? We'll try to aim. Last week's was a little bit shorter.
That's fine.
A few minutes shorter than usual, and this one's a bit longer. But whatever you like, it's you. You're your own person. Make your own opinions.
Yeah. Be a free man.
Yeah. Be that person that you want to be.
Yeah.
My name is Joe Lewis.
I'm Anthony Bull.
Thank you for listening to Tales from the Twists, and stay twisty.